Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Up the Guts podcast. Joining as always is your host, Tricky. And I'm joined by a special guest today, travel content creator and we'll say event management, sports coach, you name it, he does it. Mark Paxton, how are you, mate?
Not too bad yourself. Thanks for having me. Yeah, lots going on. I don't really know what my title will be, but we'll just go with that.
Yeah, so we'll just start off as a general. How's life looking right now with the day-to-day? What's day-to-day look like at the moment as we speak?
Oh, that's such a tough question, man. Like, just every day is so different. Like, at the moment, I've just come back from a massive trip, so I'm just kind of back now, just seeing friends and family and just kind of chilling out and just relaxing and taking that time in, I guess, to save everyone. But there's some things coming up that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, at the moment, it's actually pretty boring, pretty cruisy right now. Mm-hmm. I'm just creating videos and editing everything that I've just come back from, so yeah.
Yeah, and how much time does that all take?
Look, I'm probably like 6 or 7 hours on my computer every day just doing random stuff. So, yeah, it's taking up my full day.
And where did, we'll wind it back a bit, go to like school days. Obviously, we went to school together.
Yep.
Was this something you always wanted to do? Like, for us, I know a bit more example. Was media one of your strongest subjects in school?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think for me, like, school's a weird one. Like, for anyone that knows me from school, at least anyway, I was so quiet in school, man. Like, school was not my thing at all. Like, I did not fit in there. I knew for me, like, what I wanted to do outside of school was either basketball or travel. And I can't do either of them well in school. So for me, I was like, I'm the terrible person to talk to when it comes to about school. Because I'm like, it's just not me. I hated every second of it. Like, I had my small friendship group. And it's like, I'm just going to keep my head down. I'm going to keep quiet to myself because it's not my thing. But yeah, I guess you can say from there, it was like, I knew it was always either going to be sport or travel. Yeah. What I was going to do.
And obviously, because I did media as well, did you end up doing your little short film or short doco, if you remember?
I remember having to do one, and I believe I was actually quite lucky. I believe that I went on a USA trip just before that was due. Mm-hmm. So I actually had a little bit of a workaround, and I did mine on college athletes being able to get paid, which is such a random topic for Aussies.
Yeah.
But because I was so passionate about American sports, I actually did that, and because I was going over there, I just went and got my own footage and all that sort of stuff. So that's what I created mine around. Because
I know when I did mine, I was kind of lucky too because I Miss Milankovic, obviously you know her, it was out. Yeah. But for anyone wondering, that's our old media teacher. She suggested the sports media route to me, and then I was lucky because my local cricket club had just won the grand final, and they were going up to the top division. So I was like, why don't I do like a short sort of documentary and get like 3 or 4 people in and just do like a short documentary, put highlights of the game and that in there. So that was mine for that. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. Now you mentioned basketball, big part of your life. How young were you when you first picked up a basketball or even started playing and took it a bit serious?
Oh God. I don't remember basketball not being in my life like full stop. Mm-hmm. Dad was coaching before I was born. So like, I know of stories of being like 2 weeks old and it was at the stadium. Like I just grew up at a basketball stadium.
Dandenong, right?
Dandenong at the time, yeah. So I grew up at Dandenong Basketball Stadium as my local, and I don't remember a time where it wasn't a part of my life. So it was kind of natural that that's just the sport that I filtered into. Yeah,
and when was it when you first physically started playing, if you can remember that far? Like,
I think like I joined like a under 8s team when I was 4.5, I think, like 4.5, 5. And I remember wanting to join like probably a year before that when I was super young, and I wasn't allowed to. Like, even at 4.5, 5 with the 8-year-olds, it was still like a huge gap. But I finally convinced my parents at that time to allow me. Yep. But yeah, probably I'm going to say 4.5, 5, I reckon.
And when was it when you've started? Because you played a bit of rep?
Yeah, I played rep for 7 or 8 seasons.
Yeah. When was that first one? And because I've heard stories, what's the travel like? There's some decent travels I hear going on when you play.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, even at the rep level, it was, I guess I would have been, say, 8 years old when I first got on my first rep team. Like, would have been bottom levels, like teams 5 and 6 and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was probably about 8 years old, I reckon. And even at that age, you're traveling to Geelong or Altona, and I guess as an adult now, it's like, oh yeah, it's only a 2-hour drive. But like as a kid, when you've just come back from school and you've got a 6:40 game, so you're leaving school early sort of thing to get to Geelong, it's a weird experience, like for sure. And then we would have tournaments that would be interstate and things like that, and just it's such a surreal experience. You feel on top of the world, like as an 8-year-old, so it was good fun.
Was there any players that you come up with that have gone on that you know from there?
Yeah, so like not that I played with. I was lucky to play with some guys that are now in NBL 1 or NBL at a local level. But my whole age group versed and competed with guys like your Josh Giddeys of the world, Dyson Daniels, and stuff like that. And purely just because they're the same age.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was never on the same team as them, but definitely did verse them.
When did Josh Giddey move? Because he took the move over to America, didn't he? At a younger age.
No. So Giddey went through all his junior career here with the Melbourne Tigers and actually joined an NBL team with the Adelaide 36ers. So he went Adelaide instead of going to college. So he was...
Was it Ben Simmons that went?
Ben Simmons went. Yeah, Ben Simmons went. He left Box Hill when he was... I don't even know, but I'm 14, 14, 15, 16, that age. Yeah.
Yeah, and what was it like? Did you know when, say, for example, Josh Giddey and that, did you know they were going to be really good from a young age?
Not really, to be honest. Like, Josh was a weird one. And again, like, I didn't know him personally as a mate or anything, but you're always watching, like, guys that are in the state team and stuff, you're always watching them progress and grow and where they're going to end up. And for me personally, anyway, Josh was a weird one. He seemed to develop really late. Like, he obviously had the passion for it. His dad was a Aussie basketball icon and a legend as well. So there was always that potential there that maybe he could because he had the drive. And I remember, like, I think it was probably the Australia Day tournament when he was like 14, 15. And he was good. He wasn't great, but he was good. And then literally a year later at the same tournament, he had grown like 6 inches or something stupid like that.
How tall is he, do you know?
I don't know, but I think he's like 6'3", 6'4", something like that now. Yeah. And I just remember it, like the huge growth spurt in that span, just because I hadn't seen him for 12 months either. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then he was still playing like a point guard. And then that was kind of that moment of that I reckon he was about 16, 17 where you've gone, okay, there's a real potential here that not only just the NBL, but Aussie Boomers and maybe even the NBA. So.
And Dyson Daniels, was he from Bendigo?
Yeah, he's Bendigo. So I saw a lot less of Dyson just because we didn't compete with the country teams as much. So we would verse him in tournaments and stuff like that. But even just being able to watch him play was very limited just because he was on the other side of the state.
And he has a younger brother who's going really well at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah, so he's got an older brother who's quite good and playing at an elite level here in Australia. And his younger brother, Dash, he who knows? He could be another NBA guy. Let's see what happens. But
and then fast forward, would you say coaching for you, like when you were playing, were you always one of the ones who wanted to be one of the leaders, and that's where coaching has come from?
I guess so. I guess you could say that in a way. I think for me personally, I knew that I had the brains and the IQ there. Like, I loved the sport so much and I was so passionate about it and so invested, I guess, that I knew all its little ins and outs, but I didn't grow. Like, I'm 23 now and I'm 5'7", so that was an issue. And I was slow as hell. Like, no matter what I tried, I was just slow. I was not athletic.
So you have to back in your shooting.
Yeah, correct. So I had to learn how to shoot, and I wasn't a great shooter anyway. But I knew I loved the sport, and I was so passionate about it. And that's kind of how I got into coaching. So I started coaching at like 12 and 13, even while I was playing. And I think I kind of found my niche early that was going to be where I wanted to head with the sport.
And what is it about coaching that you really love?
That's a good question, actually. I think it's because I'm all about team. I'm all about team and working together as a group. And I guess we really got that in basketball. It was the sort of coach I wasn't a dictatorship in terms of a coach. Like, you can often get into a team where they dictate the team and it's their say or the highway.
Yeah.
Where, because I had the experience as a player, so I could also bring that perspective. I knew where the players were coming from when they had issues, instead of just being someone that never played. So you could flip it
on its head a bit.
Yeah, correct. So I can put myself in their shoes and understand where they were coming from, and then we could come to a solution or whatever it was in that moment so much quicker and easier. So it meant that our teams would progress a lot quicker. We could just move as one.
Yep.
So.
And what's some of the best experience you've had as a coach? Because you have coached at a reasonably high level, I believe.
Yeah, I've been quite lucky even when I was younger. I think for me, one of the most surreal moments, and it might not be a lot for some people, but for me it was just, I couldn't believe it at the time, but I got an assistant coaching role with a Victorian state side.
Yep.
And I remember getting... How
old were you at this point?
I was just out of high school, so I think I was still 17, 18.
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember getting the email, and then the following phone call about 10 minutes later, and acted all professional on the call and stuff like that while trying to contain myself.
Yeah.
And I just remember kind of being speechless. Like, I didn't even know how to tell my parents because it just meant so much to me. And then the first training session, we were actually traveling, so we had to stay at a hotel for a couple of nights. And I got all my gear. It was the first time ever getting any sort of Victorian state gear at the time. And I remember just like for half an hour sitting in my own hotel room, just staring at like the Vic logo. I just, even for the footy fans, like the big V just on the logo, just staring at it going like, what the fuck? Like, sorry, I can't even swear, but like, just what the hell?
It's okay.
Yeah. So it was like, what the fuck? Like, this is actually so surreal.
Yeah.
Just like an absolute idiot, just staring at it. And that was the first moment in my coaching career. I was like, shit, like this is like legit. This is pretty cool. So,
and how did you go in that tournament?
Yeah, really good actually. We didn't know what to expect, but we were Vic country at the time. Mm-hmm. So I was with the countryside. And we knew the metro side were going to be pretty good. And the years before that, the countryside had been, I guess you could say, underperformed a bit because they had decent teams, but they just weren't getting the results. And we went undefeated through the pool play, and that we were like, yeah, okay, we're on a roll here. This is really good. And then we won through the quarters, lost the semis to Vic Metro, which was just, even that in itself was a surreal experience, being on the State Basketball Centre on court 1 with 2,000-3,000 people just surrounding the court, and just like, you got to remember, this is like under 15s basketball.
Yeah.
Like they're kids. Like, this is crazy. And we went down by, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was 5 or 6 points. It was really close. And I just remember a few people being really gutted because we felt like we were there. We felt like we could have won it, even though we had exceeded all the original expectations. And then I remember coming in the next day for the bronze medal game, and we just ended up, they almost come in with like a chip on their shoulder, even at that age. And we ended up winning by, it wasn't even close in the end. So we came away with bronze, which was actually a really cool experience. So.
And you got to coach Melbourne Tigers women's, is that correct?
Yeah, so again, that was only just recently in the last youth league season. I was actually taking a year off, so I had no basketball commitments. I just had nothing. I was going to just have a year off and see what would happen after that. And probably about a week before the season, I got approached and had a couple of phone calls with some people I knew that were at the club. And they were looking for an assistant coach, and I couldn't help myself, and I said yes. Like, just,
you say you're taking a year off, then the opportunity comes. and you're like, yeah, look, I'm not going to be able to cope without basketball in my life, so
correct. So
I'm better off taking it.
And to be perfectly honest, arriving at Melbourne, it was quite a weird experience. It was probably the first time that I had, besides the state stuff, but more at a local level. It was the first time I experienced any sort of professionalism, I could say. And that's not to diss any of the other clubs I was at, but it was just next level. It was taken so seriously. And I just love that because everyone was so passionate, like just as I was.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was with the Youth League women's team as an assistant. And I would show up to training on a Tuesday or a Thursday night, and on the same court as us down the other end with the NBL1 team was a Giddy, so Josh's dad. So just picking his brain and learning from him was amazing. And then on the other court with the men's, with Andrew Gaze coaching both teams.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm surrounded by basketball royalty 3 or 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a consistent thing. So I learnt so much in that time, and just, I reckon in that one season at Melbourne, I learnt more about myself and as a coach than I did the previous 6 or 7 seasons.
Expand on that for me. What do you think you learned about yourself?
Just how to lead better, because I felt like I had it in me, but how to communicate what at the right time.
Yeah.
There's a...
Choosing when to go and when to not.
Yeah, correct. And that can be even in-game. Sometimes is the right time. Yes, your team's not going great, but it's not the right time to give them a good old Aussie spray.
Yeah.
But then there is a time where it is the right time to give them a good old Aussie spray. And just learning what situations should dictate what your reaction is to get the team in the right place.
Mm-hmm. And have you found, because they talk about a lot, especially in footy nowadays, our generation, different people can handle different ways to approach them. You've got to approach an individual different than you would another individual. Did you ever find that when you were doing it? So some might want to get an Aussie spray.
Yeah.
And that feeds them. But if you did it to another person, they might go in their shell.
So this is where, especially at a senior level with sports, it's a bit different. Because yes, you've still got different personalities and it needs to be treated differently. But when you're talking to them as a group, if you are giving a bit of a spray, there's at least a few players that are going to be able to, I'm not going to say take it, but use it as motivation. Mm-hmm. And they're often your leaders. They're your captains. They're those people. So then even if someone else, it's not necessarily the best way for them to respond, your captain then steps in and arm around the shoulder, that sort of thing. And then they're revving up the players as well.
Yeah.
So that's where it's really key to have those senior players, those captains that can lead as well.
Is there ever a scenario where you've had to adapt to when you've given a spray or thought, oh, maybe I went about it the wrong way there, or no?
Oh, 100 times. Yep. I couldn't count on my fingers, like, absolutely. And that's all about the learning process. Like, I'm almost certain there's coaches, like, even if you look at the NBA now, some of the best coaches of all time, even they'll say now, they'll be able to pick moments during the season where they've gone, I should have done this differently, or we should have run this play differently, or I should have responded differently.
Yeah.
And they've been coaching for 30 odd years at the highest level you can. So I think you're always growing and always going to make mistakes, and just you're trying to be better 1% every day sort of thing. So
yeah. Before we get on to more of the travel stuff, we'll stick to the sport a bit. Bomber supporter, am I right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
How have you seen this season so far, the first season under Brad Scott?
Brad Scott himself, I'm quite content with. I was super happy with that hiring, and I still am now.
Yeah.
Mainly because it didn't seem like we had any sort of culture at the club. And again, this is looking from a fan from the outside in. But I remember for years just watching different games, and you just go, it's not the fact that we're losing is the issue. It just doesn't seem like there's any effort.
Yeah.
And we've had that pretty consistent all year. So even our losses this year, we've kind of gone, we're not there as a club yet. And that's okay because you can see the progression, you can see the effort being put in. So Brad Scott on just a coaching level, I'm like, let's sign him up for the next 5-6 years. Like, let's lock him down. I'm super happy with that.
Yeah.
And from a playing group, I think we're exactly where I guess we would be. Like, I remember telling my mates at the start of the season, I predicted us to be somewhere between 8 and 13.
Yeah, I think I had you about 12.
Yeah, and I'm like, if we finish 8th, if we
I
finish
said,
at the top
I
end.
said when I was doing the present prediction, I said where you'll lack is your key backs.
Yeah.
You don't have enough depth in your key backs.
Yeah.
That's where I said personally.
So I said 8 to 13 simply because we weren't polished and we weren't experienced, and polish comes with experience as well. And it was just more so if we make the finals in 8, fantastic. But again, we'll see all the memes that we'll probably lose that elimination final.
Yeah.
We'll make it, but we'll lose that elimination final, and that meme rolls on how many days, like over 6,000 days now of not winning final. But anywhere from 8 to 13, I feel like we'll be successful if we continue the way we are, and it's been good. So,
who's someone that you've watched this year and gone, well, I didn't realize he was that good?
Hobbsy.
Yeah, he's good, isn't he?
Hobbsy's gonna be surreal. Like he's he's had an outstanding season.
Especially when they've played him a bit more actually in the midfield.
Yeah, he's just got that natural instinct where as soon as the ball's in his hand, he just often makes the right decision more than not. So he's quite exciting to watch. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes.
Yep. Now before again, I was thinking because obviously both love our media.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you love movies.
I do, but I don't watch a lot of TV or movies at the moment. So go for it. But yeah, I don't really watch a lot of TV.
I was thinking, let's name some of our favourite sport movies.
Our favourite sport movies?
Yeah.
Oh, hands down, Coach Carter.
I was going to say Coach Carter is one of my favourites.
Mm-hmm.
Another one was Blindside. I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Coach Carter for me always gets me.
Yeah, yep.
That you can name them, you can keep wheeling them off. Blindside, I Remember the Titans.
Yeah, it was a good
Another
film.
good one. There's so many. But I think personally Coach Carter's my favourite.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched that.
Yeah, I've got no idea.
And you learn something new every time you watch it. It's not that it's just such a great movie. It's more what you're learning through the movie. You're going on the journey, like you said, as him as a coach. He's learning as he's going on how to adapt to different situations. Because he comes in Mr. like, I'm going to be all classy and not to cop any shit.
Yeah.
And then he learns, well, no, that's not how these hood people are going to react to it.
Yeah.
I've got to adapt it. Then when he adapted, they responded.
Yeah.
So I think personally that I would have to agree with you. Coach Carter is my favorite one. Is there any other sport movie that springs to mind when you're thinking?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm I'm quite, even though I don't watch a lot now, I'm quite excited to see, I don't know if you've seen, but Air's come out recently.
Yeah, I watched that.
Oh, you've seen it? Okay,
Yeah.
so I haven't seen it yet, but I'm quite excited to see that just because I've heard it's from a very different perspective.
I won't spoil anything, but I'll say very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Yeah, I've had a lot of family members watch it and they've all said the same thing.
Because one thing that got me wanting to go watch it too was the cast they got on it. I was like, that cast is unreal.
Yeah.
But when I saw Air, I'm like, yeah, I've got to go watch this.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to more of your travel stuff, where did the passion for travel and cruises as well, where did this come from? And when, obviously you like to travel, but when did you think to myself, okay, I'm going to start recording my experiences?
Yeah, right. So I think I was quite lucky. I always went away with my family in the school holidays, but it was nothing ever big. It was always just like, let's go to Phillip Island during school holidays. Let's go to Echuca or like wherever, or it would be a basketball tournament that we were traveling to. So it might be like an Adelaide or something. But all I saw was the inside of basketball stadiums. But I knew I loved it and just moving around and constantly seeing new places and new things. And I remember probably when I was like, I don't remember exactly the age, but I think it was at 15, 16 age. My parents split, and for some reason when they split, both of them took us on a couple big holidays.
You went on a lot of cruises during that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I went on 2 cruises with mum, just to like the South Pacific Islands and stuff, and I was hooked instantly. And then it was only a couple months later, I went to America for 5-6 weeks with my dad. And that was my first big land holiday as well. So within the span of a couple months, I'd experienced cruising and then original generic land holidays. And I remember getting back from that trip in 2016 and it's just gone, I love this. This is absolutely insane. And now 2016, I'm still in high school. I can't go by myself. And again, going back to the school thing, you feel trapped because I'm like, I love basketball. I want to go do it and pursue it from a business standpoint as well. I love travel. What can I do with it, sort of thing. Can't do any of this because I got to show up Monday to Friday at school.
Exactly. Or you don't have to.
Oh, you don't have to. Yeah. But that's why I was so excited. Like, I remember in VCE, I put in bare minimum effort. Like, I passed all my classes and I got my ATAR and stuff. But I remember like just putting in the bare minimum because I didn't want to be there because I knew what was coming afterwards. And you hear all the stories about people like they're adults and like, oh, don't wish your school life away because we all wish we can go back and stuff like that. I think it's been like 6 years now, which is crazy, out of high school. And not one part of me misses it.
Yeah.
Like I love my life at the moment. Like I really do. So I digress a little bit, but that travel, especially back from that USA trip, kind of kickstarted my want to travel.
Yep.
And then I guess, I couldn't really do it. Put it on the back burner because when you're coaching basketball at such a high level, it takes up all your time.
Yeah.
And basketball's 10 months of the year. And then the 2 months you aren't doing it.
You're playing pre-season?
You've got pre-season, you've got team tryouts, you've got Christmas break in the middle somewhere there.
Yeah.
You've got off-season tournaments and all that sort of stuff. So
like when you look at like an NBA schedule, people that complain they need a week off during the AFL season, when you look at the NBA schedule, you go, what the hell are they whinging about?
Yeah, don't get me started on these AFL breaks.
Oh, what, like you look
Sorry,
at it, because
guys,
how long does an actual NBA season go for?
It's 82 games, not including playoffs. But it's October to April basically.
Yeah, it's insane.
Before playoffs.
Yeah, that's insane.
Don't get me started on AFL players taking these breaks. But anyway, we won't go into it. But yeah, so it's I had to really choose straight out of high school because there's such big commitments. I had to choose, and it's like, well, I love basketball, and I know it's like my passion. It's where I'm at, so I just did it. And so as I said, I was going to take that year off just to see what happens. And I didn't. I got sucked in and I went to Melbourne and I don't regret it. I loved every second of it. But Melbourne season finished, I guess, because they're in finals now, so this time last year.
Yep.
So it was about this time last year where our season finished. We lost in finals in some round. And I just went, I'm done now. Like, I love basketball and I love the team I've got and all the ins and outs of it. But I'm now feeling held back because I can't travel and I want to. So yeah, I think it was this time last year where I just went, you know what, screw it. I'm going to take a year off. No matter what happens, I'm just taking a year off. I don't necessarily have to travel. I might work 9 to 5. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm having a year off. And I felt quite privileged to get some offers from teams and stuff to coach, which was fantastic. But I had to find all my willpower possible and not take it. It ended up being kind of the best decision that I've ever made. I'll go back to coaching at some point in my life. but I can't see that being in the next 5 years.
Yep.
Maybe even 10, 15, maybe longer.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, I'm enjoying travel so much, and there's just so much out there that I want to do and see. So that kind of kickstarted it. And then I kept seeing all this travel content on YouTube and Instagram and stuff, and I was sending photos back to home, and then was just getting responses like, and it was only photos at the time, but your photos look really cool, like this is really good. And then I had a couple of people actually want to buy, outside of family, buy my photos. I'm like, shit, I can make money from this. Like, this is really weird.
Because talk us through how you get that. So some of the shots you get of the wide open city, you get of like buildings. Now you got a drone, I'm assuming, going up.
Yeah, so I became obsessed with drone footage, and so I went out and bought one, probably about that 16, 17 age, and then just every year I upgraded the one I had because I always wanted more and more and more. And so now I've got the one that I've got, being a DJI one that I live by. Absolutely love it. It goes everywhere with me. Mm-hmm. Even if I'm just going down the road, my drone's at least in my car fully charged, just because I might.
You never know what can pop out.
Yeah, correct. And it just gave me a whole new perspective when I was away on my holiday. I was just like, all right, yeah, cool. So like I'm seeing whatever crazy landmark it is, and then now I'm taking my drone off and seeing it from a whole new perspective.
Also, when you say you got the drone, you weren't necessarily getting it to 100% make content with. You were getting it so you can see it from up on that angle as well for yourself. I just wanted it for myself.
Yeah, I just wanted it for myself. And then I started seeing what I was able to do, and then I started getting creative and just messing around with it and stuff. And then, got some cool feedback from friends. So I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to start posting it. Like, there was no intention. It was just, I'm just going to start posting on Instagram just to put it out there. And then it kind of just went crazy from there. I'm like, shit, this wasn't even my plan or intention. There was nothing here for this. And now it's just kind of spiraled out of control. So,
yep. And then the followers on Instagram keep ticking, right? Don't they?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been such a weird thing too. It's been hilarious because like, when you become semi-successful, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet, I don't even call myself successful.
Just for you guys out there wondering, I literally had to check at Mark's Instagram today, and it said 101K followers, and I was like, holy shit. Yeah,
like, so I'm still nowhere near where I want to be, but I guess depending on who you ask, that's quite successful. So it was only probably about a month ago. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to throw people out just because probably most of your listeners will be people that know us as well. So I'm certainly not going to do that, but I got 2 or 3 text messages and on Facebook and stuff from a few people back in the day from school, just absolutely roasting the crap out of me, just like throwing me under the bus, just going to the works. And I was just like, okay, like, I don't know why this is happening, but like, maybe, I don't know if it's jealousy or what, but like, I guess at that point, maybe it is seen as a little bit successful, I guess.
Yeah.
Because people just want to bring you down. So they're not happy when other people succeed, I guess.
And then you took 3 months, was it?
Yeah, just over 3 months.
3 months Europe trip. Take us through that. And what was your favourite spots you went to? Some of them, and some of the experience you learned over on that trip. Because you went by yourself, did you not?
Yeah, so I actually went to America first.
Okay, yep.
So not many people know that because I posted a little bit in America.
Went to a basketball game, didn't you?
Yeah, so I flew out of Melbourne and flew to LA. And went to a Clippers game and actually got on the court and stuff. That was surreal. That was absolutely insane.
Because I haven't been to America. Can you compare ticket prices from a footy game to a basketball game over there?
So in Australian dollars, I sat.
Courtside?
No, I sat 7 rows back from courtside. On the baseline, and it was the Clippers' second last game of the regular season, and they were getting ready for finals. And I paid $140 Australian.
Okay, yeah.
But you can get, if you want to sit in the bleachers and you just want to go to a game, which I've done several times, you can get tickets for $15-20.
Yeah.
So it's often, and baseball's another level. Like I went to the New York Yankees and paid $7.
That's unreal.
For like $7 Aussie, it was like $3.50 American.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, but I loved it. So I went to LA, I'd been to LA before, and it's kind of not my favorite place.
I've heard a lot of people say that. LA, I don't know.
It's just run down. It's dirty. It's kind of not what it's cut out to be. So I really just went there this time just as a layover break for a couple of days because it's such a long flight.
Yeah.
And because I don't see myself as that successful yet, I'm flying economy still.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nah, screw this. Like I'll take a couple of days in LA. So managed to do all that and that was cool. Went to New York for a few days, which again, I love New York. It's one of my favorite cities. And then jumped on a cruise from New York, which took me to Europe. So that's how I got to Europe, was a cruise via New York.
Yeah.
And then, started, I guess, I was in America for a couple of weeks and then did basically 3-4 months in Europe, just going all around.
What are some of the favorite, not even places, but experiences that you witnessed? And if someone, let me rephrase, let me put it this way. Say if I was going to go to Europe, what's the first, let's say 3 places you tell me to go right now?
So definitely Florence in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So Florence is, location-wise, is literally in the middle of Venice up top and then Rome down south.
Mm-hmm.
And Florence is basically smack bang in the middle in the Tuscany region. And it doesn't have all the tourist appeal of here's the Colosseum or here's the waterways of Venice or anything like that. But it's just got a natural, authentic Italian feel to it. Where it's got some famous museums and stuff, which was quite cool. But then it didn't have the touristy vibe to it. It was, we go to this cafe and it just felt authentic Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I'm living for. I don't want to go somewhere and just feel like home. And I'm living for those cultural experiences.
You want to travel so you're not experiencing what you're experiencing already at home. Because if that was the case, why would you travel in the first place?
Correct. And so you go to a lot of these places and they're catered to the tourists and they're all English speaking, which is great. But I enjoyed the challenge of, I don't speak any other language in English. I can barely speak that well, but like, I don't speak any other language. But I enjoyed the challenge.
Did you take
someone that only speaks Italian?
Did you take German in school?
Yeah, I did.
So did you go to Germany when you were over there?
Yeah.
Were you able to communicate a little bit? No,
I don't.
You couldn't remember.
I can't even count to 5. Like I got A+ in German. Like, when we were at school. But that's simply because I just went to Google Translate.
Yeah.
Like that shit worked. Like,
yeah.
I didn't know anything.
I could probably introduce myself. That's a bit. Hello, my name is Trent. Then you've lost me.
Yeah, no, you got nothing from me.
Yeah.
So, but so Florence is definitely number 1. It's probably one of my favorite cities in the world. Malaga in Spain, again, there's a lot to do there, but in terms of the well-known touristy stuff, there isn't really.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a tiny little coastal town in Spain that's kind of untouched from the tourist. But it's just so authentic and just, I would move there tomorrow if I could. I really would.
Yep.
And then probably my third one, where would I go? There's just so many places, but I loved Athens as well. I just loved Greece. That's another place I could move to.
Did you go to a lot of events while you were over there as well, or like stuff?
I went to some events.
What are some of the ones that you enjoyed over there? Did you get to any sporting events as well?
Yeah, so I went to, for any of our football/soccer fans.
You go to a Premier League game?
Nah, Premier League finished a week before I got to England.
Oh.
So it was on when I was in Europe,
yeah.
But then when I got to England, it was too late. And then I missed PSG by a week in Paris as well, which would have been crazy. But I got to one football game, and that was Roma versus Inter Milan.
Yep.
In Rome, and that was probably the most insane sporting event of my entire life.
I've heard that football crowds, they've got like nothing. I mean, we've got nothing on them.
Yeah.
But and if you got to experience, if you got there a week early and experienced that Premier League, imagine that. I've heard that's insane.
So I want to go to a Premier League game just kind of to say that I've done. I go to like one of your big name teams, but I was actually lucky to speak to some English people over there, and they said that it doesn't even compare because England's so westernized like we are, that they've got so many rules in place that you can't have flags or flares or anything in a Premier League game. So the atmosphere is good compared to here, but it's not that good compared to your Eastern Europe sides.
Okay, yep. So you're more, it's probably Champions League.
Yeah, would kind of be the better experience. So but yeah, that game was honestly insane. It was sold out, and just the crowd from the moment we walked in the door, like you can't walk around the stadium. So like here, if you go to the MCG or Marvel or whatever, you can walk around the whole stadium besides maybe the MCC, right?
Yeah.
There, because it's so full on and fans can get violent, they've sectioned it off with concrete walls.
Okay.
So if you're sitting in section 250A, you walk into your section and you've got your own little food stall and stuff. And that's literally probably 20 rows of seats. That's the only area you can go in the entire stadium.
Okay, yep.
So when you walk out of the stadium, there's barriers the whole way. You can never enter another lane.
Mm-hmm.
So it means you can't get to other fans around the stadium.
Yep.
And even that in itself was like, damn, this shit's like crazy. Like, this is so weird. And as soon as the game started, even before the game, I instantly clicked just looking around like why this is in place. Like, these fans are actually nuts.
Yeah.
But that was such a surreal experience. I didn't really get to any other sport. There was a couple of basketball games that I would have loved to have got to, but I just didn't get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a concert, which was cool in Amsterdam.
Yep.
And initially I only went to piss my sister off.
Okay.
So some people would have seen it on Instagram, but I went to a Harry Styles concert.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know any of his songs. Like I don't listen to Harry Styles. But my sister was like a huge fan, like diehard fan, is like every other female chick in Australia is. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Tickets are like $70. I'm not doing anything tonight. I'm gonna go and just spam her on Snapchat just to piss her off.
Yeah.
And initially that was the only reason I went, but like, just guilty pleasure. It was actually a really good concert. Like it was actually bloody insane. So yeah, full credit to him. He knows how to put on a show.
You knew more songs than you thought you did, or
yeah, I guess so. Just mainly because it's been played throughout the house or whatever. So I actually did in the end. And again, I wouldn't say he's my go-to, but in terms of just putting on a performance, good on him.
what's some of the best dishes you had when you were going over there?
Best issues?
Yeah, dishes. Like
Dishes, food. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, good.
Greece.
Greece, yeah.
So I remember I had a X amount for my budget for food every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to Greece, and the first thing I wanted was, depending on where you're from, depends on how you pronounce it, so I might get it wrong, but a gyros. So basically just meat in a wrap, essentially.
Yeah.
With some sort of sauce. And that's all I wanted. So I get there. We find this restaurant in like a marketplace right near where I was staying. And I'm like, yep, I want that for dinner, just takeaway. Because I was going up to the Parthenon that night just to go have a look, walk around, see the view and all that sort of stuff. So I was on the go, so I got that. And it come out like this big, just all of meat, I guess, in this wrap. And yep, ready to pay. And it was $3.50 Australian. And I'm like, wait, have you charged? Like, I was honest. I'm like, guys, have you charged me for the right thing? And they're like, yeah, it was $3. So I remember being in Greece for like 10 days and I spent like $30 on food.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just going to go there every day. And I don't need 2 a day. I don't eat breakfast. So lunch I'll have one, dinner I'll have one, and now I'm set. And you're allowed to drink alcohol in public.
Okay, yeah.
And everywhere sells alcohol. So like supermarkets sell it. If you walk just to a side vendor, they sell it. Like it's everywhere. And you can get like 750 ml cans or bottles of like Heineken or anything like that for 70 cents.
Jesus.
And so like I was pissed every day in Greece. Like it was absolutely insane. Or just like, if you like your cruises and stuff, cruises are like 45, 50 cents. Like, I'm just like, so I remember having like a 6-pack of cruises. I've got like 6 or 7 beers, just going up to the Parthenon at like midnight, just drinking. Like, I don't even know how I got home that night.
Do I want a fruity taste or do I want a beer taste? Which one?
And then you just go both. Like,
and then you're just alternating one by one.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Greece in terms of food. And then you got your generic stuff. Like, Italy was amazing for pizza and pasta.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I was in Italy for 2 weeks, and I think by about after the first week, I was craving something else.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm not going to take it for granted, but it was just, I'm over pizza and pasta because that's all they sell. Like, literally, that's all there is. Besides maybe a Hard Rock Cafe, which I don't do because I don't do the commercialized stuff. So it was, yeah, I was good to go get some other food.
And now, speaking of the drink side, you do a bit of event management as well. Do you want to talk about through that?
Yeah, so not anymore. I did. There was a really weird period between, of say, 4 or 5 months between finishing up at basketball and before I started traveling properly.
Yep.
And there's just so much in the world on this rock that we live on that I want to do. And like, so I love partying. I love going out and doing these things and going to different events. And I had some mates in that space. So I actually got into the event management stuff just at some nightclubs in the city. And it went really well and I enjoyed it and stuff. But I'm going, kind of just went, it wasn't a long-term thing for me.
Yeah.
And like, I know people do it long-term and I enjoy it, but I enjoy it sporadically. I don't enjoy it going out every weekend.
You enjoy it here and there.
Yeah, correct. So I only did that. It went really well for when I was doing it. And even now I do it occasionally. But it turned out just not to be my thing. And that's the kind of personality I am. I'm going to end up trying 100 different jobs before I die.
Yeah.
There's just so much I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
What's your go-to place if you're going to the city?
Pretty generic, but I like the precinct to start.
Yeah.
Just on the corner and down in Richmond, especially if you go to the footy and stuff. It's so generic, but it's generic because it works. Like it's just good for a good vibe. But if I'm going out night clubbing, I got to kind of shout out my mate. So we're going out on a Thursday. I'm going to Paran and going to Panda Thursdays. If it's a Friday, I'm going to Flamingo, which was on Queen Street, but they've just moved to the Emerson.
Okay, yeah.
And then on a Saturday night, I'm going to Euphoria. So,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Or if I'm going on a Sunday sesh, Sacred Garden down in St Kilda's a good joint.
Yeah, I've been there.
It's dangerous because they do unlimited mimosas for 2 hours, and then for like $50, you pay $100 and extend it for 4 hours.
Yeah,
and it's a dangerous night when that.
Yeah,
happens.
we did that probably about 2 months ago now, and just last week we had my mate's Bucks party, and we went on one of those bottomless cocktail cruises on the river. It was just 2 hours of free drinks. Oh, it was
that's awesome.
I had a big one the night before, and I remember having my first 1 or 2 drinks. And I'm like, it's not going down great.
Yeah.
It's not going down. And then once I got a few in, I'm like, yeah, these are going down real well now.
Yeah.
These are going down real well. But it's going to be a really tough question for you.
Yeah.
Travel like mainland or cruises?
It's just, I think for me now, it's just finding a balance.
So you don't have a preferred?
No, I really don't. So I thought I would. I thought it would be cruising. But after coming back from that 3-month trip, it's now just I'm just gonna find a balance.
Yeah.
And so I've got a couple trips planned and booked already. So I'm going away in November for 2 weeks with my dad on a cruise. We're doing a back-to-back cruise.
Yep.
So just up to the Pacific Islands, and then doing a northeast Queensland coastal trip. And then January, February, March, I'm going away to Dubai and Europe again.
Yep.
And then I'm back in Europe for a third time in June. So, yeah, and there'll be cruises somewhere mixed in. So it's just finding a balance.
Yeah, and we're just about probably at the end of this now. But obviously, you said you didn't really like school. You didn't feel like you'd fit it in.
100%.
What advice would you give to the person who's just about to finish just about to finish year 12? They're not maybe feeling VC, or they're a bit like, I don't know what I want to do moving forward. Because once you're at school, you've got that system base. You know what you're doing Monday to Friday. You've got your schedule already. But then once you leave school, for the people that don't think they have a plan, what would your advice be?
I don't even know what I'm going to do tomorrow. Like, just go try shit. Just try everything. And it becomes really, really easy when you stop caring what anyone else thinks. Like, I couldn't give two shits.
Was there a point when you did?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, you post something hoping people will like it, hoping people comment and are happy with it, and you don't get hate and stuff. But it gets to a point where it's just like, I'm doing this for me, and I don't really care what other people think. Like, my life doesn't affect them. And that's the advice I would kind of give, is kind of goes against what you're taught in school, is like, get your 9-to-5 job and stuff. But like, I can promise you, I'm never going to work a 9-to-5.
Yep.
Like, I can't say myself, and full credit to everyone that does, like, full credit to the guys that get up at 5 a.m, go to the construction site, work all day and stuff. Like, that's tough. So good on them. Like, but it's just not me. I could never do it. And I guess don't be forced into it. Like, there seems to be this narrative that maybe even if you're coming out of VCal, for example, that's the route you have to go down. You
have to be a tradie.
Yeah, like, you just have to do it. And I know so many guys that are tradies and they just deal with it. They don't want to be. And it's like, you don't have to do this. Like, I'm never going to work a 9-to-5. It's like, you don't have to do this. Just go try shit. And it's so much easier to do that when you stop caring what others think, I guess. So that's why I'm traveling now. Like, for me, I wake up on a Monday or a Tuesday morning and I'm privileged because I wake up and go, all right, what am I doing today? If I'm home, what am I doing today? Because it's my weekend.
Yeah.
Like, I've got my own business outside of the travel that I don't really speak about, but I do have my own business.
Yep.
And that's kind of what funds it at the moment.
Are you happy to talk about, or not?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in disability support. So I did that for a few years, hands on myself, working for other companies.
Yep.
And then I had a little bit of business experience behind me already. So I guess I just set up my own company, and now I'm hands off. I don't work with my clients anymore.
Yep.
I've got staff that I've hired that do that, and then I just do all the back end stuff. So if something goes wrong, they call me. If they send me a message, I do all the payroll, and I just manage the business.
Yep.
So as long as I've got internet and a computer, I can be kind of anywhere in the world.
100%.
And that's my dream. My dream was, I never had financial goals. I always had time freedom, and that's what I wanted. And so I've got other goals now that I would like to reach. I've got 2 main goals that I would like to get to. But my first one was just achieving time freedom, and that's what I'm at now. So I wake up on Monday, everyone's sulking, and I'm like, hell yeah, it's Monday. Like, I'm ready to go. What am I doing? Am I going to go play around a golf today? Am I flying out to Queensland just to hang out in Queensland for a week? Like, I can literally do what I want when I want. And just to have that freedom is,
And before we go, you got a couple of games left now.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Bombers going to make finals?
No.
You don't think?
We'll win the next 3.
Yep.
And your Mob, as much as I hate them,
Yep.
they'll kick our ass by 80 points in the final round.
And that would kick you out probably about 9th.
Yeah, so if we win 3 out of the next 4, we'll be somewhere between 9 and 10, I think.
Yep.
But if we'll win the next 3, I think. So we've got West Coast, North Melbourne, and GWS. To be honest, if we don't win those 3, we don't deserve to be in finals anyway.
Tell you what though, GWS, they're in some good form.
They're in some good form, but if we can't beat them,
Yep.
then we don't deserve to be in finals anyway. But I think we win those 3 games. And then, yeah, if we beat you guys, I think our chance of making finals is like almost 100%.
Yep.
But you guys will kick our ass by 100 points. I've already heard Collingwood fans today going how nice it will be. We kicked Carlton out in the last round last year.
Now
this year it's going to be Essendon. So, good banter.
Nah, but just before we finish, is anything you'd like to plug on your socials? I'll leave some links in the bio, but just go ahead and plug whatever you need.
No, not really, actually. Like, just... I'm not going to push my socials or anything like that. I don't need to. Just if you want to follow me, follow me. If you don't, you don't. Like, again, I'm doing this for myself. So, like, selfishly, I'm doing it for myself. And then also, I guess, for people that are a bit worried about doing it or are unsure or are going, I guess, with the grain at the moment just because it's easy, I guess that's the perfect way. Follow me and then, or even message me. Like, actually, that's what I will advocate for is men's mental health. Not even just men's mental health, just mental health in general.
Mm-hmm.
My DMs are always open. Like, even if you don't know me, my DMs are always open. I've spoken to people at 3 a.m. on the phone, just been up for 2-3 hours on the phone, making sure they're okay. Not because I need to, but like, just do it. Like, people are happy to listen. People want to listen.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna plug anything,
What's the saying? You'd rather sit up for hours listening to your problems than hear
then
about
be at your
it.
funeral
Yep.
a week later. Yeah. So if I'm gonna plug anything, just speak up. Like, just do it. And like, I was in some people that, and I'm not going to go really into the nitty gritty details, but for a while I was like in the real shit. I was in deep. And I was so lucky to have like really, really good close friends that I would just bore my eyes out to for ages. And now I'm the happiest I've ever been. Like, I'm doing some crazy stuff with my life. I'm at a point where anyone can talk shit to me and I just don't care.
Yeah.
And I've never been this happy before. And it's just like, you can get out of it and you can actually make something of your life. So I'm just some random kid from Cranbourne. Like, that's all this is. So, if I'm going to push anything, it's just speak up. Like, it's not, time really does help with most things in life. Like, time is a big thing. And we all think short term. We all think even like 2-3 months down the track, that's still short term. Mm-hmm. Come talk to me about 5 years down the track.
Yeah.
Because when you start thinking long term, like, things changes so quickly. So, yeah.
All right, well, thanks for coming on, Mark, and look forward to your trip. And hopefully, just for your sake, and I know a couple of co-hosts who aren't here at the moment, but I have 2 of them who are mad Essendon supporters. So let's hope for you and their sake that you guys make the 8. But again, thanks for coming on, and we'll plug your socials in the bottom, even though you might not want to, but I'll put the links in. But thank you again for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for having me.